Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D. Brief. This is the D Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Welcome to the debrief for the week of July 9th, 2018. I am your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And I'm Jag.
All right, guys. How you doing? Hope you had a good 4th.
Woo,
We
yeah.
did.
You finally feeling better over there, Seth?
A little bit. It was bad. Like, I actually had to cancel the barbecue.
This was Becky and I were texting you like an hour before saying, you feel like death. Just cancel it and do it on a week when it's not 95 degrees.
I was trying to power through.
You really were.
and then I mowed the lawn, and that was it. I was done. It was all over. But you know what? As soon as like 11 o'clock hit, all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I feel fine now.
Well, I think we were a little glad not to have your germy chicken.
Yeah.
What you missed, Seth, was that
my
there
Jeremy
was
chicken is good.
there was this little side text conversation going on between Becky and me saying,
Do you want to go?
I don't know. I don't want him like hacking along all over
Well,
my
I was
chicken.
like, I feel bad. He's feeling awful. I don't want him to entertain.
It just sucks because I took the week off for vacation and I basically
get
spent
sick.
it sick.
That's like-
Murphy's Law.
your body finally says, okay, I don't have to go to
I
work.
can rest.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Anyway, we've got a very exciting show for you today. We have Ismael Ahmed. He is the director and curator of the Concert of Colors, 26th annual this year. This is the big free world music concert that they do in Detroit every year. We'll talk to him a little bit about it and about the history. Also, we've been talking about this a little bit. Two comedians, Tom McCarthy and Bill Bushart, are getting together and they are putting together a pilot that they are filming at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle.
And by
in
pilot,
Berlin.
you mean TV show.
TV show, yes.
Okay.
So they eventually wanted to be a variety show, but for now it's going to be stand-up comedians, 20 stand-up comedians.
Wow.
that
Bringing
they're
their
putting on
best,
stage.
as I
Bringing their best,
understand.
like
A-game.
tight 5-6 minute sets.
This is like the cream of the crop. Like
Yes.
your absolute best material.
And I know this roster. I know like a ton of people on this bill. And these guys, it's a nice
real deal.
cross section of comedians from the not just Detroit but the Michigan area as well. So we'll talk to them a little bit about that. And of course, Thursday's episode, that's when we go in deep, have a longer conversation with somebody. We're going to be talking to Amani Olu. He is the founding director of Detroit Art Week, which is kicking off for the very first time.
First one. It sounds exciting.
Getting in on the ground floor.
Yeah, but if it goes well, it's going to be an annual event. That kicks off July 20th. We'll talk to him about what that's all about. Of course, you can listen to us on your Amazon Echo. All you have to do is say, Alexa, enable the Debrief podcast, and you will be good to go. We'll also cover all your concerts, comedy, plays, food, drink, everything, you name it, happening in the Detroit area. We're going to talk about it in this show, so stick around.
The D Brief. The D Brief.
Sports report.
All right, Jag, why don't we start with the sports here?
All right, so this is going to be a second annual event. The Detroit Cycling Championship returns to Beacon Park on Saturday. They did this event last year. It went so well that they actually got on the USA cycling circuit in only their second year of this event, which is like unheard of.
Really?
So a bunch of international folks, and we hear this all the time, we talk about this every week, came in for this event, had heard all the negative publicity about Detroit, and then they came in and they were like, wow, this place is awesome. There's a lot of people on bikes in this city. It's a beautiful city.
We've been trying to tell you.
I know. If you would just listen.
Right. Sheesh.
So if you want to head down, it's a great event. It lasts all day. It starts at 8 a.m. on Saturday at Beacon Park. There's a free race for military vets. It's one of 20 races on the USA Cycling Tour that starts off a little bit later in the day. There's $45,000 in prize money.
I'm going to have to break out my spandex for this. I do have the spandex. I do have the whole biking outfit.
I think I speak for Becky when I say that's a visual I could have dealt without.
It's been a few years since I fit into it. I don't know that...
Why not? Here's the thing. Start cycling, then fit in, too.
Because the only thing worse than spandex is poorly fitting spandex.
Exactly. Hey, guys, I got a new bike for my birthday.
Oh, that's
So
right. I saw the
maybe-
picture on Facebook. Congratulations.
She is a beauty, so maybe I have to go do this.
Nice.
You can hang out with everybody downtown. There's
Yeah.
going to be spin classes, food trucks, and here's the cool part. They're teaming up with the Detroit PAL, the Police Athletic League. They're giving 153 bikes to kids in Detroit. So there's a charity aspect of this too, which is, of course,
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The International Bocce Tournament is coming to America for only the second time ever, and it's coming here to Lake Orion next weekend, the July 20th and 21st. Now, I have not played bocce, but Becky, you've been to this place up in Lake Orion?
Yeah, the Palazzo di Bacci.
That's such a fun name to say.
Yeah, Palazzo di Bacci.
You can't not say it in an Italian accent.
Right.
Oh, hold up here. I don't I don't know what bocce is.
I can't believe that. So you guys have never played bocce ball on your lawn?
I thought that was when your plastic surgery went bad. What?
Botched.
No, that's the TV show, Seth.
No, bocce is it's a simple game. There's a small ball, and that gets thrown first, and that's sort of your target.
Okay.
And then you have two teams, each of whom have 3 bigger balls, and you roll it. They're color coded, and you roll it down the lane, like kind of like a bowling alley, and try to get close as you can to that little ball.
This was in Harry Potter, right?
I'm not
Like Quidditch?
Oh,
That's
maybe it's a different
little-
sport.
So you're describing
It's like I talked to Seth, and he just doesn't even listen.
Yeah, no.
It's like nothing.
There was a big ball and a little ball.
the
And,
way you're describing bocce is it almost sounds like curling without the ice.
Well, or it's like feather bowling without the feather.
I don't know either of those sports either.
Anyway,
Seriously, you guys are. Oh.
this place up in Lake Orion's awesome.
Yeah, so if you ever go to Italy too, like all the old Italian men are always playing bocce. Just they have courts everywhere.
The analogy that
Well,
I've
now
heard-
I'm inspired to learn.
Like, right? You know? It's like a really
my
old
way into
cool
the
game.
mob.
And hey, we just went to Ottavo Via to eat dinner. They have bocce courts in their back. You can play for free.
The analogy that I've heard is bocce in Europe as a hobby is like golf here.
Yeah, it's huge.
Everybody does it
Yeah.
over there. So if you're interested in bocce, it is next weekend in Lake Orion, and it's the big, giant international tournament for the whole world. So
That's super cool.
Very cool. Big 3 basketball. Have you guys heard about this at all? This is kind of a new thing.
I've been busy playing bocce, so I was not
Okay, these
tuned
balls
in.
are slightly bigger. This is
Okay.
basketball. Ice Cube has this league. It's like it's on TV on Fox Sports all the time. It's an 8-team league, and they travel from city to city, and they play 4 games at each venue. They're coming to Little Caesars Arena this Friday. And there's a local connection, of course. One team, in fact, the defending champions of this league, they're coached by former Detroit Pistons bad boy Rick Mahorn. So Rick Mahorn is one of the coaches, and the teams are former NBA players. So players like Kenyon Martin, Amari Stoudemire, Big Baby Davis, and of course, everybody's favorite from the Malice of the Palace, Meta World Peace. No longer Ron Artest.
Now, do they do like crazy stuff? Like
No, it's not like a Harlem Globetrotters
Okay.
kind of thing, but it's competitive basketball with guys that played at the highest level.
Yeah,
And now
that's
they're
cool.
maybe not in the league anymore, but it's a little bit less expensive than going out to an NBA
Sure,
game.
sure.
You can go and you can see maybe some players that you love to watch back in the day.
If he gets together and plays with Dr. Dre and MC Ren, I would go see that.
You're an Ice Cube fan more than you are a basketball
I'm
fan.
an NWA fan.
There you go.
same.
The Michigan Cornhole League, Sports and Social Detroit. They've been kind of doing this thing. They've had organized cornhole tournaments since last year. I've seen this on Facebook. They're actually starting a league downtown. It's going to start next Tuesday, July 17th. If you want to learn more about that, you can just look for Michigan Cornhole on Facebook. Check on Facebook for that. Don't check on Google. You might find something you don't want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool to see that elevated from your old tailgate game.
Yeah,
to-
because you see any tailgate you go to, any party you go to, there's
Yeah,
always
barbecue.
there's always a Michigan State and a Michigan, cornhole board or whatever.
Yes.
So this is kind of cool. It's like an organized league.
It's like the professionalization of cornholing.
What if? Yeah,
Yes.
it might go wrong. It might be like too commercial now or something.
Oh, it's not
you know?
cool anymore.
Yeah.
They've sold out.
Right.
It's like your favorite band, they've sold
Sold
out.
It's like Nike sponsoring it. Cornholing, just do it.
Right.
That kind of
right.
thing.
Right.
You're gonna not let me finish this with a straight face, are you?
I'm towing the line.
Sure you are.
Just be glad it's not going another direction and talk about the MLB All-Star game.
Yes,
Okay,
this
go.
is my final story.
Whenever I win a game of cornholing, we always take the Gatorade, we dump it over the coach's head just to cool him off.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right, okay. Let's get to something a little bit different. Major League Baseball All-Star Game is next week.
You've just won cornholing. What are you going to do next? I'm going to Disneyland.
Me too.
Right, there you go.
You guys should just scrap this last story. All right.
We don't care.
Major League Baseball
Nobody cares about baseball. Go back to cornholing.
Who likes baseball in this town? That's so strange.
Right.
The good news for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, JD Martinez and Justin Verlander were picked to be All-Stars. The bad news is neither one of them plays for the Tigers anymore.
Darn.
One current Tiger, that's reliever Joe Jimenez, is going to be on the All-Star team. Not the Tigers' best player, Nick Castellanos. Reason that is Castellanos plays the outfield. There's too many good outfielders, and they needed to put one Tiger in, so they said, hey, we need more pitchers, and they brought a pitcher in.
Okay.
Tigers finish out the first half of the year before the break in Tampa Bay this week. They're at Houston this weekend, and they're off most of next week for the All-Star break.
Coming up, one of the stars of Arrested Development is going to be in town telling jokes. We'll tell you all about it.
This is the deep. This is the deep. Deep. This is the deep brief.
All right, guys, we've talked a little bit about this. The Concert of Colors is coming up. And, when we had Andalisi of WDET on last week, she talked about it because she's doing this big thing with Don Was there. He's very involved in this concert.
Mm-hmm.
But this concert's been going on for a long time, long before even he was involved.
You had me at Andalisi and Don Was. And then it gets bigger from there.
It's a big deal. Yeah, no, it's a big deal. This is the 26th annual at this point, and it is a free world music concert. It's happening July 11th through the 15th in Midtown. And so I had an opportunity, actually, thanks to Andalisi. She provided me with a hookup to talk to Ismael Ahmed. He is the director and curator of the Concert of Colors. He also hosts a world music show over on WDET that you can check out. And he was actually the director of the Michigan Department of Human Services. Just a little FYI.
He's just an amazing Detroiter. He's well known around town.
He's done a lot of stuff.
And what's really cool about this, like you said, it's a free. So many music festivals are so pricey, and to have a free one with this caliber of music is pretty incredible. So
I caught up with him, and we sat down, and he told me a little bit about the history of the concert.
Well, the Concert of Colors is 26 years old. It's actually older than that. The 5 communities of color came together and organized themselves to present their cultures, both new, old, experimental, together, and build the synergy that would bring us together around other things, immigration or racial attacks or other kinds of things. And then it grew into a much larger phenomena, which is called the Concert of Colors. It started out at Shane Park with presentations by those 5 different communities, and then became a gigantic event. It had 5 stages and performers from all over the world. People like Ray Charles performed at it. The Kuti family out of Nigeria, Eddie Palmieri. So musicians from everywhere came to perform, as well as performers from right here in Detroit. We tried to highlight talent from the city.
So yeah, world music, but with a bit of a Detroit focus there, right? Just to highlight the fact that we're here, which I think is a good way to do it.
We're such an international community.
Exactly.
It's a great way to showcase
sort
that.
of one and the same.
Well, and he talks about how they started with the 5 communities of color in the beginning, and then, ultimately wound up incorporating more and more different cultures as part of what they do. So I asked him, all right, well, who's the headliner for 2018?
The headliner is going to be Buffy St. Marie. Buffy is 80 years old. She is the Native American artist in the world today. She'll be joined by an Inuit throat singer, and she's got a brand new album out, and she still rocks.
How many concerts do you know that are headlined by an 80-year-old?
About as many as headlined by an Inuit throat singer.
Right,
yes.
exactly.
Pretty cool.
What is it? How does that work? Do you know? Is that
I
just
think it's just like the sounds come from deep in the throat. It's like the
diaphragm
vibrations of the vocal cords,
I honestly have no idea, but I totally want to go see that.
it sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
I asked him if there are any other bands that we should not miss.
We're bringing in a band called Ram from Haiti. They are considered the best band in Haiti right now. And in fact, they've been working a lot with Arcade Fire to do the Haitian Festival in New Orleans. If you were going to go see a band, I would check out Ram because they're an interesting combination of things. It's voodoo music, traditional voodoo, and all the drums, I think there's 16 pieces, and vocals, but also kind of punk rock guitars as well. I mean, and they're certainly danceable.
This just sounds more and more badass, doesn't
Exactly. I know.
My ears always perk up when I hear New Orleans.
Of
'cause
course.
there's always,
and voodoo. And,
there's a festival every weekend down there. They're like doubling up weekends down there
Exactly.
because there's so many.
Yeah.
it? Well, and for me, it's Arcade Fire because that was a band that I played very early on in their career when I was working in
And
radio.
they were just here in Detroit on
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Do you have a platinum record from them on your wall?
I don't.
You should.
I
You
should.
should,
I
yeah.
deserve that.
You're one of those old school radio guys. I played them before anybody else.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I did, I swear.
I played them way before they was teaming up with voodoo music.
See?
All right, so I also asked, are there any other bands that we should be sure to see this year?
One other I'd mention is he doesn't get enough props, I think, is Sean Blackman. Sean Blackman really is helping to hold up world music in this city single-handedly. He identifies ethnic musicians from all over the region that aren't usually on people's radar, and he works with them. So he'll be performing with 10 people from different countries, and he will also have dancers from all over the world.
Becky, this is a guy you've talked about before.
Yeah, he had a series at the Garden Theater. It was every month a different country. Like he did Spain, so he'd have musicians from Spain and flamenco dancers and things like that. And he had another series at Avalon. So yeah, I've had my ear and eye on him for a long time. But I agree, he's kind of under the radar even among Detroiters. So.
Well, very cool. And then, of course, the other component to this concert that we talked about with Ann DeLisi last week was the Don Was All-Star Review that they do. Don Was, big record producer. He was part of the band Was Not Was, way back
Have you heard from
when.
him about staying at your Airbnb in Oak
No,
Park yet?
right.
the invitation is open, Don. If you're listening, you are more than welcome to come stay. We provide free microwave popcorn. And there's a little stuffed monkey in the room. You'd love it.
It sounds.
Don't forget the
just
Nutri-Grain
lush.
bars, right? You put out Nutri-Grain bars too?
Luxury.
Nutri-Grain bars.
Is that still a thing for you?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
still a thing.
You
right.
know, I was at Detroit Water Ice today, and he's on the Hall of Fame there.
Oh,
Don
is he?
Was his
Yes.
picture, and so I had to educate the people I was with. I'm like, that's Don Was.
Yeah, so this is a big time, basically music mogul. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy's
Oh, yeah.
produced a number of Rolling Stone records. He is the head of Blue Note Records, and he does every year this all-star review. So I asked Ismael to tell me a little bit about the history of how that came together.
So I met Don Was when he was performing with this big Algerian star of rye music. His name was Shab Khalid. And we had dinner with a bunch of the people in the band and started talking about Detroit. And he really loves Detroit, even though he no longer lives here. And he loves music out of Detroit. And we both kind of had this idea about developing a review in which bands from all over Detroit and from Detroit's history were showcased. And that's what we're doing now. It's really become a central part of the Concert of Colors.
Yeah, and in fact, they actually have a bunch of of these performances over the years on film, and they're going to be showing that like
Wednesday night.
Yep. Ann DeLisi's going to be showing it at the theater at the DIA.
Yeah, Detroit Film Theater.
Yep, and they're also going to be talking to Don Was about it and reflecting upon it. But the whole Concert of Colors, like we said, it's the 26th annual concert. It is absolutely free, and it's happening July 11th through the 15th in Midtown, so go check it out. Coming up in just a few, Jag went grocery shopping. We'll tell you all about it.
Welcome to the deep.
Brief. Funny stuff.
All right, Jag, we got some comedy shows coming to town.
Yeah, if you remember the show Jackass, I feel like this is a show you would have watched, Seth. Jackass?
No, I was never
Really?
a Jackass guy. No,
Really?
I'm not in that reality TV. The only reality TV, I'm never into the reality TV where people do stupid stuff. I'm into the reality TV that's like a talent competition where it's about...
They're the best.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
I love that
because
show.
it was very positive.
It's new.
I know. I haven't watched the reboot.
Oh my gosh.
Is it good? Is it as good as the original?
Good. Oh yeah.
I owned
Yeah.
the book at one point. I kid you not.
I've teased you like I'm going to call him on you.
I know. Clearly it's been a while
I
since
want
I've
them
gone
to
back
come.
and brushed up.
And not so much that you need a huge makeover, but that I just want to meet these guys. They're just
Hey,
the
I've stopped wearing cargo
best.
shorts since you
Yes.
made, at least here since you made fun of
Well,
me for
maybe
'em.
they would come to do both.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Two for
Yes.
one? Like,
Yeah.
But that was the kind of reality TV. I
Yes.
love America's Got Talent. I
So
love
you think you can dance?
Those
Okay.
are, I don't
Not
like
the dumb
Becky,
shtick.
what about
Yeah.
any boys in your house? They watch watch Jackass when they were younger?
No.
I feel like you would have educated them better than that. I
Yeah,
watched
no.
it a couple times. I was dragged to the movie once. I almost vomited at a couple scenes. I'll spare the details. But anyway, an evening with Jackass. They make it sound so classy. An evening with Jackass. Preston Lacey, who is the bigger guy in the show, he's coming to Token Lounge on Thursday night. So if you liked Jackass, want to hear some behind-the-scenes stories of guys getting hit in the nuts, feel free to go to that show. Saturday, July 14th, the Planet Ant podcast launch party.
Yay!
Yeah,
Planet Ants, join the family.
Well, yeah, they are good friends of our pod, and then we're big fans of theirs as well. So the Planet Ant podcast launch party is happening at Ant Hall in Hamtramck.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know what Planet Ant is, this is the big improv place that's over in Hamtramck.
Right.
It's the purple ant on the side of the building.
Can't miss it.
Yeah, it's a cool, great place to see improv. I'm really curious to see what kind of podcast they put out.
Yeah, I
whether
wonder what
whether
it'll be
they're
like.
improvised or whether
Yeah,
Scripted.
there's so many different ways to do a podcast. I'll be excited to see
Sure.
how they
Right.
do it.
I mean, improv is what they're known for, but it's not the only thing that they do over there.
Right.
I took a clowning class. No joke. I was
I'm not surprised.
I was like, that looks like fun. I'm not good at it, but
I was made up as a clown once when I was in radio and the circus came to town. They came in and have a time lapse video somewhere of them like turning me into a clown over like the 45-minute process
Oh.
transformation.
and they
Wow.
never turned you back.
I know.
Yeah, it explains. Yeah.
Also Saturday night, our good friend Mike Jeter is downstairs at the Joy Manor in Westland, and rumor has it Mike Jeter might be making an appearance on this show.
Word on
In-
the street.
Yeah, we'll see.
And we'll see about that. Sunday, David Cross going to be at the Royal Oak Music Theater. And
I am a big fan of David Cross.
tell me about him because I'm not familiar with his work, or
I'm
at
not
least
either.
off the top of my
Neither
head.
of you guys watched Arrested Development.
No.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know. Which one is
He was Tobias.
Oh.
in Arrested Development.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of other TV
Yeah,
and
lots of
movies over the
movies
years.
and things,
I mean, I loved Arrested Development till Netflix got involved, and
Yeah.
but his stand up is weird. I mean, it's not
I could imagine
it's
it
not
being
jokey.
quirky.
It's almost more like ranty. You know what I mean?
Like a Lewis Black kind of thing?
Kinda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So.
Also Sunday, so this is interesting. Obviously, it's political season. The ads are everywhere. How about a political fundraiser being done with a night of comedy? So Ellen Lipton, who's running for Congress, she's got an event going on Sunday night at Sullivan's on John R. in Hazel Park. And the name of the show is Ms. Representation. And the idea is that women are underrepresented in D.C. So the show is called Ms. Representation, a night of comedy to support Ellen Lipton for Congress. So
That's awesome.
thinking outside the box.
I will
I'm
tell you
a-
this: women are also underrepresented in stand-up comedy.
In comedy. Ellen is in my neighborhood. I'm a big fan of her. She is tireless, working so hard. So
Good
all
for
the
her.
support for her would be great.
All right. Also, this weekend at the comedy venues around town, Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle has our good friend Jeff Horst, friend of the pod.
We're going to talk about him a little bit more later, and I know we've been talking about him a number of times in the last couple of weeks. But
He's a hot
Mark,
ticket.
My words. I mean, so this is what Mark Ridley does, I think. I think he takes a lot of the local comics and gives them their first headlining shot during the summer because it's a little bit slower. People
Yeah.
want
Sure.
to be outside. I saw Jeff Horst do his very first headlining set last year at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. And he was great. He was solid. And he's coming back and doing it this year, but, he's got another year under his belt.
Right.
But he's done a lot in the last year. He was on Heart of the City
Sure.
with Mike Jeter and a couple of other comics here from Detroit. And Kevin Hart liked him so much that he flew him out to L.A. to record a half-hour set, which is going to be premiering in August 24th.
Okay.
Is when that's going to premiere on Comedy Central. People are going to see that. I know that he is working on putting together a viewing party. I think at Zeke's Barbecue over
Yeah, in
in
Ferndale.
Ferndale.
Okay.
For that, this guy... Don't just take my word for it. I mean, we heard Heather
Yeah,
J
it's
say
pretty
it last
obvious.
week. This guy, I think, is on the cusp of blowing up. And if you are into stand-up comedy, I would go see this guy now because he's only going to get bigger and better.
Seth's recommendation. All right. Also this weekend in the comedy clubs, Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, Maja DiGiorgio. She has been at Showtime at the Apollo, Def Comedy Jam, and in Sex in the City. She's at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. Punchline Comedy Lounge in Southfield has Al Johnson. He was Ezel from Friday. Remember the Friday, the spoof movie about, 15 years ago?
Yeah, it was Ice Cube. Is he playing basketball with him?
I don't think he's playing basketball, but he's going to be at Punchline all weekend. And the Holly Hotel has Kevin Kramus. He has performed at a wide variety of venues, from DTE to the Supermax prison down in Mansfield, Ohio.
Oh.
So he's good for many different audiences.
That's a tough room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Not a
so.
real funny place.
No. And then our wacky news story of the week. The Berkeley Library had a little situation where some people came in and hid their DVDs and Blu-rays of 50 Shades of Grey because they felt it was inappropriate. So the library said, all right, we'll just buy more and put them out and put a big sign on and say, this is not how libraries work. They're protesting censorship because some people thought, ooh, 50 Shades of Grey is a little too.
Yeah, too racy.
They probably don't want to go play cornhole either.
Yeah, you can really only do about 2 shades of gray in the library. I think after that,
It gets a little.
it gets a little dark. All right, coming up in just a few, there are 2 TV shows that are showing Detroit some love. We'll tell you what they are.
This is the debrief.
About last week.
And now the portion of the show where we take a moment and reflect upon the last 7 days.
Yes.
What you guys do?
Woosah.
Let's start with you, Becky. What'd you do last week?
Basically, the last 7 days were a giant food coma for me.
Yes.
I ate all around the city because it was my birthday week and holiday and
This is why they got you a
friends
bike.
and-
They're like, all right, you're
Okay,
gonna
exactly.
need to work this off.
Get your little booty on a
It's a
bike.
subtle sign.
So I had lots of good eats on lots of good patios around town, but that would take all show to tell you about. So I'll just highlight the newest, latest, and greatest. I went to She-Wolf.
Which is a place you previewed last week,
Yeah,
right?
so we told you it was opening like a week ago Friday. So I went when it was just, a week old.
So what's the concept here?
So it's Roman cuisine with a contemporary twist to it. So you got Chef Anthony Lombardo. So it's very Italian, but with different little elements. So you can get the classic carbonara pasta, for instance, but then you can get pasta with chicken livers and marsala sauce and almonds. So, and then a whole range of meats, salads, and it's really interesting menu. Really,
And you were
unique.
saying last week that they have gluten-free selections too, which is good for you, right?
They do, although I have to say the gluten-free pasta, I should just learn. Like, don't get gluten-free bread. Don't get things that should be gluten-y. Because there's plenty
gluten-rific.
glutinous. Because there's plenty of things. So I ended up with a pork shoulder dish that's just obviously just no gluten, which was great, and I loved it.
Okay.
But I ordered the gluten-free pasta to start, and it was bad.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The service was so great from beginning to end. And it was like, no problem. You don't like it? Just give it back. I'll get you something. What else can I get you?
Okay, good.
And there was no delay. They brought it exactly at the time as all of our other dining companions' dishes. They were on it. They gave us a free dessert. Like, they know it's new, it's opening, and they're going to have some glitches. So I was really impressed, even though I can't say I liked every bite of everything.
That's so important because I was
Yeah.
at a restaurant recently where they didn't have all the dishes came out. And mine came out like 10 minutes after everybody else's.
And that seems like an eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just.
And if your dish comes out first, it's like the awkward. You have to remember. Okay, I don't
Right.
want
For
to eat.
5 minutes, everybody else is waiting
And
to
then,
be
and then
polite.
you
like,
have
"No,
go ahead, eat it.
eat."
It's gonna get cold. Go ahead, eat. Don't wait for me.
Yeah.
So it was really lively. And the chef, this is the first time I've seen this too. Like, oftentimes you'll go, and if it's an open kitchen concept, you'll see the chef cooking, like at Maple Gray, you'll see James Regato and whatnot. But Chef Anthony Lombardo was actually outside. He touched every plate. So he wasn't in there cooking. His guys and women were doing the cooking, but then he was seeing every plate as it came out of the kitchen.
Quality
and
control.
actually delivering some and putting on some sauces and stuff like that. So, and you could just see the look of dedication on his face. So it was almost like a performance too.
Yeah.
Where we were sitting, and real lively crowd. Although I must say it felt just like a Birmingham crowd transported to Midtown.
It's kind of bougie, or
Yeah, a little bit. So hopefully they'll get a more diverse mix in there.
Was it full?
But it was jam-packed. So like I said, this is just a weekend. It's a hot new thing. Everybody wants to go check it out. I mean, the cocktails were great. They really took care of us. I think they're going to run a nice operation there. And everything was fresh. You can see the guy making the pasta right there. Made fresh daily. So I'd check it out. And what was really cool about the night, too, is we started out at Castalia, the scent pairing with the cocktails that we've talked about. We interviewed them back in March when they opened. And then we walked over to She-Wolf, and then we walked over to Willis Show Bar.
How was that?
It was great.
Was there burlesque going on?
There was not. There was a band. So it was a band celebrating Jack White's birthday.
Okay.
Cool.
So they were playing not what you think. It was more they were celebrating like the rockabilly and blues roots.
Was Jack there?
No, he was not. He was not. But you felt transported completely back to like a heyday, very swanky. Like everybody, it's almost like the servers are trained like in a Stepford Wife kind of way.
Oh,
like
jeez.
but it's cooler than I'm making it sound. It was just they were dressed to the nines and it's just very nicely done. It's very nicely done. So to me, to be able to walk to that whole entire evening within say 6 blocks is something I know you guys can't necessarily appreciate not growing up here, but this was the heart of the Cass corridor.
You didn't
The
queue
place-
line it at all.
Heck no, the queue line's not over there. But this is the heart of the Cass corridor. Like I would have never been able to do
Right.
this.
10,
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
No,
and the 3 places exactly.
Oh, yeah.
The 3 places that we walked have all opened since March.
Right.
And it made like just for a really nice evening and everything in between was nice, gardens, nicely kept houses, and it just was really a fun summer night.
Awesome.
What about you, Jack?
So my wife and I have been meaning to go now that it finally cooled off over the weekend. We finally went to the Saturday market at Eastern Market. We've been dying to go for a while.
Yay.
Started off at Supino's for their amazing pizza, crack
So
a
good.
fried egg right on top of it. Probably my favorite pizza in Detroit.
This isn't your first time at Eastern Market, is
No,
it?
we've been before, but I just love going, and we're trying to eat healthier. We're both trying to get a little bit healthier. So we got
Fried egg pizza. What were you eating before?
okay.
That's the breakfast pizza.
That's the weekend. That's the weekend. We try to eat healthier during the week.
So he was buying his produce for the upcoming
Oh,
week.
I see how
some
it works.
basil. Okay,
Saturday's the cheat day.
Yeah, we bought
Diet starts tomorrow.
and we bought tamales for dinner. But we did basil and fresh strawberries and farm fresh eggs. I feel like once you have farm fresh eggs, like you
there's
can't
no
just go to Kroger or
comparison.
Meijer and buy them. It
Tastes totally different.
It's like a different animal almost. Just kind of walked through and sampled some stuff and just bought a bunch of healthy goodies and then bought a bunch of flowers to plant in the backyard.
Oh,
and
nice.
it was a really, really nice, midday out. We were there from probably like 11 to 2 on Saturday. It was great.
That's perfect.
So I went out after I recovered from my illness there.
So after you blew us off for the barbecue, then all of a
Yes.
sudden you could go out.
Yes, all of a sudden I could go out. And no, my girlfriend. So my girlfriend is a grandmother. I am dating a gilf.
I was gonna make that
A
joke,
gilf.
but I felt like it would be wrong for me to say that about your girlfriend.
No, but
so
it's okay for me to say.
Yes,
Yeah.
you say I'm not jumping on that train.
She likes it when I say that.
Oh,
is that your pet name for her?
Yeah,
That's
right.
cute.
And so we went to the zoo because we actually, we don't live far from there.
You're
we
so
haven't
close.
been over there, and because we're so close, I took your advice. We got the season pass. We actually got
Great.
the grandparents pass.
Oh my
So
god!
are you passing yourself off as a grandfather?
I
Is that what
kid
you're
you
doing?
Not, there is now there's a grandparents.
You can bring the grandkids for free.
Yes, pass in my wallet for the Detroit Zoo now.
Whoa! Is it next to your AARP?
Yeah, right. I mean, it was a really good deal though. So we went
course it
and
was.
We saw
Now
the.
you sound like a retiree.
I saved a few dollars.
I didn't even have to
We
come out
went
of my
to the
Social Security
matinee.
money this month.
And we saw the dinosaur exhibit that's there.
Dinosauria,
There's
yeah.
Yes, which is actually pretty cool. There's if you go to the Debrief's Instagram account, you can actually see me videotaping one of the dinosaurs, and then it spits water, and it totally spit it at me while I was videotaping, and all of a sudden I like freak out. And then the other thing we went to was I had not been inside the movie theater there.
Oh,
which-
Imagine?
the
Oh,
4D,
no, at the zoo.
at the
Oh,
zoo,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
4D, and I'm like, I don't know what I only know 3Ds. I don't
Back
know
in
what
my
the
day, we
4D
only had 3Ds. Then I ended up with these grandkids. And
These newfangled 40s.
So it was this SpongeBob movie. It's only like 15 minutes long.
Right.
It moved so fast. I swear to you, and this really did make me feel old.
Sick.
I'm not sure I could follow the plot. I can't
I thought you were going to
believe.
say you got car sick.
There
Yeah,
was
like, that's what you say.
there was jellyfish, and then I don't know what happened after that. But the 4D is really cool because like there's water that comes out. There was
Yes.
perfume that came out of the seats at one point. There's bubbles floating through the air.
Did you feel like you were living in a pineapple under the
yes,
sea?
I absolutely did.
I like those things.
Awesome.
There's some at like Disney World too, where there's one movie I've seen where a rat is on the screen and
Oh,
you
yeah, the
feel that
tail.
little tail
Yeah,
on the
like
back of your ankles?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Or
So
there's
that's the 4D.
burst of air that comes
so
out.
realistic.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
it was very cool. So we all had a good 4th of July week.
Yeah.
So at the end of it,
Soaked
when
it
you
up.
guys are about to go home, do you like whisper in your girlfriend's ear, like, all right, Gilf, time to go home?
It's
Did
5
you like that?
o'clock.
I'm not telling you. Coming up.
Hometown buffet is going to close pretty soon. We better get there for dinner. It's 4:30.
No, they probably went to Sign of the Beef Carver after. It's not far from there.
Good Lord.
Everybody's favorite old person destination.
Coming up in just a few, they are filming a pilot for a new TV show over at the Comedy Castle, and we're going to tell you all about it.
Can't get enough.
This is the Deep Breeze.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your favorite shows.
You know, we should point out that we had Emily Gale on the podcast last week.
Yes.
We asked her before we started recording, do you have any advice? Because she's a big fan of the show. We said, do you
Yeah,
have any advice? Anything you would
Constructive
change?
criticism, yeah.
She said, I got one thing. She said, you shouldn't make fun of old people.
And look what we just did. I'm so. Ugh.
What do you mean we?
We're
That was
sorry.
Jag
We're
over
sorry,
here.
Emily.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
It was mostly Jag.
No, we're honestly, Emily, we were making fun of Seth for pretending to be a grandfather when he's not.
We have two fans.
And we
need to
just
keep them.
disappointed the one.
Right.
Sorry, Emily.
We're back down to one. We've cut our audience in half. All right, Becky, let's talk about some of the artsy things that are happening around town.
Sure thing. So the Fisher Theater has the Kingdom Hearts Orchestra on Saturday, July 14th. This is role-playing video game footage projected on a giant screen accompanying the orchestra.
Wow.
Playing arrangements of the music that's in the games.
Okay, so like 2 years ago, I would have thought this sounded ridiculous, but video games is like this culture now where they're like video game championships on ESPN. Like,
Oh yeah. Plus the
huge.
music is completely elevated.
It's
Like,
way
there's-
better than the 8-bit Mario Nintendo
it
music that we
is.
grew
Like
up
there's
with.
some like good
What are we talking about? Like World of Warcraft? Are
Or
we
like
talking
Mortal Kombat. You know, I mean,
Doom?
they have like good music.
Yeah, these RPGs, these role-playing games.
Yeah. So the whole audience will be like immersed in this whole. It's a Disney thing. So in these different Disney worlds.
It's like, oh, what is that thing they do at Disney World? The Phantasmic, where they have the big.
yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Sounds like it. Yeah, interesting. So there's a cool photography exhibit. There was a youth photo exchange that took place this spring. This program called Darkroom Detroit put it on. Girls from Detroit and Kabul, Afghanistan. So they were like virtually paired up.
Oh, wow.
And given instruction on photography and took pictures around their homes of things that were meaningful to them. So that's all coming together into an exhibit. So it's going to be at Pony Ride, and it's a part of the July Makers Market. It's Christmas in July. So that's going to be taking place 12 to 6 on Saturday. There's going to be tours of Pony Ride, music, bunches of vendors, food trucks, and this wonderful photography exhibit.
I'm not familiar with Pony Ride. Can you tell me a little bit about
Pony Ride? It's basically like an incubator.
Okay.
So it was started by Phil Cooley, who owns Slows and a lot of that block of businesses on Michigan Avenue, and his brother. So it's a way to really give people space to create their craft. So a shared space, a shared working space, lots of services. So, and it's really grown. And then they sometimes put on events like this that the public can go to.
And Detroit's a cowboy, like you talk about the world getting smaller.
I know.
That's really cool.
Right. This weekend, July 11th through the 14th, is the Wyandotte Street Art Fair. This is its 57th year. Now,
This is your hometown, right?
oh, yeah. So I grew up in Lincoln Park, but right on the border, Wyandotte. Oh, never missed a Wyandotte Street Art Fair. And you know what I used to collect was those drawings made from your thumbprints. Do you guys know what I'm talking
know.
about? So there was always this booth with an artist, and you would put your fingers on the ink pad.
Right.
And put your fingerprints all over this paper with a border, and then they would make little animals and scenes
Yeah, they
out
had
of
this
it.
at the zoo when I was there. They had this
Oh,
with the
okay.
dinosaurs where it was a handprint, but yeah, same thing.
Yeah, so you know how like kids maybe make a turkey out of the
Right.
handprint.
Okay.
Bad idea, but super elaborate.
Right.
So I had one. I probably still have them in a box somewhere. 1975, 85. Got one every year, but it's super fun. Your artists, your food, your music. A bunch of streets in downtown Wyandotte, which is a super cute town right on the water. So a couple of TV shows that you'll want to take a look at. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, July 10th, PBS has a show airing here locally. It's Channel 56, 10 Streets That Changed America. So our own Woodward Avenue is one of them.
That was really the first highway, like the first street that was built for cars.
Built for cars. Yeah, exactly. Built with the automobile in mind, even though it was technically built before that, but it was the first paved stretch of concrete road in the world.
Right.
was on
Because
Woodward.
they got in one car and they're like, this is bumpy. We got to do something
We
about
gotta
this.
fix this up.
So that's one of the 10 streets.
yeah. And do you guys know why it's called Woodward?
No.
Do you know your
There
history?
was a guy.
Yes, Augustus Woodward.
Okay.
He was the.
It's always a guy.
It's always a guy. Yeah.
Occasionally it's a girl, but not often.
Occasionally, maybe more so coming up. But the first judge of the Michigan Territory, he came to town in 1805. And so now, we've talked about there's lots of Detroit products. Like there's such pride in the visualness of Detroit. Like, so you'll see necklaces or posters with that hexagon shape of the Detroit main roads. They look like kind of a wheel with the spokes.
Yeah.
He was the guy that came up with that.
Huh.
So when you're kind of like turned all around downtown, you can't find your way out,
Right.
blame Augustus.
Right. Unlike the town you're from, Boston, where the guy who designed that came up with the squiggle.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah, just blah.
There's a great T-shirt where they have the outlines of New York. We have the grid system
Right.
because we want you to know where you're going. And
Right.
Boston, and it shows the map of Boston is because bleep you.
It just basically looks like the Rorschach ink,
Yeah.
Let me ask about Woodward, because I've heard
Yeah.
this story told that it looked a little arrogant for him to name the street after
Yes.
him. And so he said, oh, no, it's because there's a wood over there, and this road goes towards the wood, so we called it Woodward.
Yeah, because it headed out into the rural areas. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
sure.
okay, Augustus, right? So,
So wait, so that's one of the 10 streets in America.
yes.
I'm trying to think what the other, and we were racking our brains about this.
I've
Yeah.
got the list pulled up here. Do you guys want to guess any of the other ones?
so let's
Okay,
go.
so I said Lombard Street in San Francisco.
Lombard Street in San Francisco.
Not on here.
Not on the list.
Sunset Boulevard.
Not L.A. has one, but it is not
LA
Sunset.
only has one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rodeo.
Not
Not
Rodeo.
What's the big other street?
Wilshire.
That's it.
oh yeah, Whistler Boulevard.
Wilshire Boulevard is
Yeah.
the one in L.A.
Broadway in
Yeah,
New York.
Broadway in New York
of
is
course.
definitely one, yeah.
Anything in Miami?
No, nothing changed.
Oh, you were saying Route 66?
Oh yeah, Route 66 has gotta
Not
be.
Route 66,
No.
but the
Okay.
precursor to Route 66.
Which is what?
Yeah, I
Route
don't even know.
65?
Yeah, right.
Which is
65 and a half?
the Lincoln Highway,
Oh.
which connected New York City to San Francisco. So a little bit north of where Route 66 is now, but that was the
Oh.
first cross-country.
And was that named for Abraham Lincoln?
I believe so. But
How
it wasn't-
egotistical of him.
No,
It,
see,
no,
it
no,
went
it was
towards-
actually called the Lincoln. Listen to this. It was called the Lincoln Highway as a means to unite the country.
Right.
That's why they
It
called it
linked
Lincoln.
the con.
Yeah,
Didn't get
yeah,
it,
links
right?
the
Yes.
con. I like that.
All right, so we've got those. So what are the city? Vegas? The
Oh,
Strip?
yeah, those, yeah.
I did not see that on here.
Las Vegas Boulevard.
No? Anything? What other cities would be?
It's
What
got to be
about-
stuff that revolutionized something. So one of them is, I'll go back to, you mentioned my hometown of Boston, the Boston Post Road, which originally
Oh.
connected Boston to New York.
Oh.
Which
It's
was
called the Post Road?
it originally it was to get mail expedited faster.
Okay.
What cities are we missing?
Well, there's one in the city that I used to live in Becky's at
New
family.
Orleans?
Yeah,
Okay, Canal Street.
not Canal Street.
What's a Bourbon?
Bourbon Street.
Not Bourbon
No.
Street.
Magazine.
Nope, but you're closer.
Chapatulas.
No, but you know how to say Chapatulas, which I
Of
enjoy.
course I do.
St. Charles Avenue, the streetcar,
yeah,
because
St.
that's where the
Charles. Yeah,
streetcar
yeah,
where
yeah.
they built these settlements so that you could put all these factory workers on a streetcar downtown.
Now it's obvious, right? Yeah.
And there's a few other ones too.
All right. So if you want to know, you got to watch Tuesday, July 10th.
Yeah. And that's part of a series. There's going to be like 10 marvels that changed America. A couple.
Oh, and by the way, there is one more Michigan Street on this.
Oh.
The Kalamazoo Mall. It was the first outdoor pedestrian mall.
Oh, that's cool. Now those are so popular.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really neat. Okay, so if you were downtown last Tuesday, July 3rd, also my birthday, you may have seen some crazy...
You may have seen Becky with a
You may
hat
have-
on.
You
and,
may have
know.
seen me eating my way through the city. But you may have seen some crazy people rappelling down the Guardian building. So the Guardian building is one of our major landmarks, such a beautiful place. You don't usually see people on it. It's
wash the windows.
36 stories, and they were rappelling down. So this was for The Amazing Race, a
Oh.
CBS reality show. Get this, it's season 31.
That show wins awards all the time, too.
I love that show, although I haven't watched all three. I
Because
can't
that's what
believe
you were saying earlier, Seth, about positivity. Like,
never
it's a
seen
pretty
this one.
positive
Yeah.
show.
I feel like you would like it.
No, I mean, these competition shows, I guess
It's
some,
more
but-
interesting though. There's like scavenger hunt type stuff and some interesting.
Yeah, I did Survivor
And
for
what
a
I
couple
like
years.
is wherever they travel, you kind of learn about the place. So that's
Right.
what's really cool. They've never filmed in the Motor City, and they came, and so now people around that watch this show will get to know a little bit more about Detroit, I think. So the teams ended up in Hart Plaza. where there was a gathering of about 100 local musicians all playing the White Stripes Seven Nation Army.
They were originally supposed to do that on Belle Isle.
They were supposed to do it on Belle Isle, and they wanted hundreds of musicians. They wanted like up to 1,000 musicians. They put out a call, but hello, it's the day before 4th of July.
Did Jack White show up to that?
He did not.
Did Jack White show up to anything?
Jack White doesn't show up to stuff.
We keep inviting him on the podcast. We haven't heard from him
someday.
He says his people will get back to us, and so far they haven't.
His people, yeah. So there were...
Meg White calls us every week. Can we be on the podcast? We have to turn her down. But
I know. She's always emailing.
No,
it's
Meg.
so frustrating.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a bad Family Guy sketch. No, Meg.
So if you had to guess, where else do you think Amazing Race took the contestants?
Here in Detroit?
Yeah.
Campus Martians.
No, close though. Spirit of Detroit.
Okay.
They went by
Sure.
there.
Yep.
And they went to Third Man Records. So there was this whole...
Was Jack White there?
I guess we'll have to watch to find
Yeah,
out.
I
I'm going to guess no.
I'm going to guess no as well. And they went to the Heidelberg Project.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
So I don't think it'll be on for a little bit, but rumor is also that it's going to be the season finale of that season. So look out for that. Couple of theater things. Ringwald Theater in Ferndale has the Rocky Horror Show opening Friday, July 13th. Stagecrafters in Royal Oak has Beauty and the Beast opening Friday the 13th.
All right, Royal Oak is having some restaurant trouble. We'll tell you all about it in just a few.
This is the D.
Detroit
This is the D.
Brave.
All right, Becky, Jag, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's been a while since you guys have seen a stand-up comedy show.
And there's no good reason. I love going to comedy, and I always laugh my head off, And I don't know. I just don't make time for it, I guess.
I probably shouldn't tell you who the last stand-up comedian I saw live was. Bill Cosby.
Oh, stop. I've at least seen Jon Stewart.
I wish I had seen Bill Cosby before it was...
all hell
Yes.
broke
came
loose.
apart.
I am a huge Bill Cosby. Like, I have all
fan of his
old
material,
albums.
yeah.
Yes, I am a fan of his material.
Sure.
And loved,
When
what
I saw
could
him,
do
he was
on
probably,
stage.
63. It was like 7-10 years ago, so he would have been in his
Okay.
early 60s. He was sitting in a chair, kind of slouched because he was older. But, obviously everything happened later, but he was hilarious.
Yes. I mean-
he had the whole crowd just rolling.
And it's hard to separate that. I mean,
It is.
He is an amazing performer, even if
Yeah.
you...
Right.
Yeah.
I think what I needs to happen, I need to stop going out to eat.
Yes.
And I need to start going to comedy.
You should. Well, look, I've got an event that you should absolutely come see.
Okay.
And we've talked about it a little bit before. That is this pilot that they're shooting. So they've assembled about 20 stand-up comedians from Detroit and Michigan, and they're bringing them to the Comedy Castle to film this pilot. Right? It's called Metro Late Night, and I sat down with two comedians, Tom McCarthy and Bill Bushart, who are putting it together. Tom's actually performing. He's doing a headlining set at the Comedy Castle August 16th through the 18th. And Bill, I know because I actually took the stand-up comedy 101 class that he
Yeah.
teaches.
And
over
he's
at
a friend
Comedy
of the
Castle.
pod.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast before, and he's an amazing teacher. Like, I mean, I never would have gotten on stage if it weren't for Bill.
him.
Right. So I sat down and talked to them about this pilot that they're filming. They're filming the pilot on Wednesday, July 18th, and the whole thing's hosted by Jason Carr over at WDIV.
Oh, sure.
So I had Tom tell me, what is Metro Late Night?
Metro Late Night is a locally originated variety show. The first show, which is on July 18th at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak, is going to be very comedy heavy. As a matter of fact, it looks like the stable of performers are all comics on this particular show. As we go forward, though, we expect that will change. We'd like to have musicians, poets, spoken word, just about anything in the Southeast Michigan area that is of entertainment value. We'd love to have them on our show. But on the 18th at 7 o'clock, it's going to be 20 of the best comics in Southeast Michigan, and we're really excited for it.
Yeah, so that's what they're going to do is they're going to film this pilot, and then they're going to go shop it around. Now, originally it's going to be, like they said, just stand-up comedians, but
Okay.
they're hoping to broaden it beyond that. And I
Maybe
think,
some burlesque.
maybe
That'd be variety.
Yeah.
Show bar, but I also think that they're filming some other bits, like some local musicians and things like that they will then edit it in.
Okay.
So that was one of my questions: is okay, what happens after you film this?
Sure.
What do you go do with it?
It goes into post-production. We take roughly 2 hours worth of live performances, as well as some pre-recorded bits, some man-on-the-street interviews we're doing, and a couple of local bands that we're recording. We're going to take that 2 to 2.5 hours worth of content and chop it down into 2 separate episodes, each of which will be about 24 to 27 minutes, in a format that we can present to local television stations. We've got some good beelines into local Detroit TV that we hope we're successful with. if my math is correct now, there's 25 local stations. I'm old enough that when I grew up, there was 5 stations. But of the local stations, there's a couple that we would absolutely love to have the show air on late night and see what happens.
Yeah, that's kind of different. I mean, you and I come from radio, and we know what it's like to put together a radio show, but you never have to like go assemble a product and then pitch it. I mean, I guess if it's a syndicated show.
Yeah, but I mean, what's interesting is you don't think about 25 TV stations in Detroit. Like maybe because I'm old school, I think, okay, 4. I think ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, local affiliates. But then I realize, okay, well, there's like what used to be the UPN. There's like, TV 20.
Yes.
There's Detroit
Yes.
Public TV. There's all these outlets. I would hope they had got it in with Channel 4 with Jason Carr hosting the thing.
That's
but we'll
what
see.
I'm wondering. Yeah.
Well, and I think even if they don't, this is the kind of thing that you could, it's tougher. We know it because we do it with a podcast, but you could just put it up online and see if you can get, listenership and viewers.
This has got, Sunday night, like around 11 p.m., is such a television wasteland. There is nothing on. This is the perfect time to air something like that.
Well, you know what they told me? That they really wanted to follow Saturday Night Live. That they
Yeah.
thought that,
Oh,
that
that'd
would be the perfect
That'd
slot.
be the dream.
Because the idea is highlighting local talent
Right.
and following on that. And so I asked Bill, I said, what's the mission? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here?
One of our taglines that we've been kicking around when we talk about this in the production meetings is bringing the local back. And that's what we want to do. We want to, we used to have all these local programs when I was younger, from Sergey Gasly to The Ghoul to Bill Kennedy at the movies to Rita Bell to, Dennis Holey and all these Detroit area things. We just want to try to do something again that's focused on this Detroit talent. All these comedians that have put time and effort in to develop a 6 to 7 minute act. These bands that are around the area that people don't normally get to see. We want to open the doors for some of these people and just get their faces out there and names out there and show that the Detroit area is just as good as any other city when it comes to stand-up comedy, and that we have a vibrant community and that we're trying to accomplish some good things.
I love that because it does feel like that's missing. I mean, that is
Yeah, it
something
does.
that, we've talked about it here and there
Something
on the
we try to
podcast.
highlight on this show is
Exactly.
great local, talent of any kind.
Well, and there was a time when television was very local, when you had things like Soupy
Sure,
Sales or I know we've talked to Tim Kiska, who does the Detroit History podcast, and he's done episodes on, for example, all those guys who did the horror shows, the horror hosts
Oh,
that
yes.
would,
Sir Graves, Ghastly. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And that doesn't exist so much anymore.
No, it really doesn't.
So it would be cool to have something on television that would highlight us, all these.
I
stand-up
think it sounds fun and fresh and pretty neat.
And stand-up comedy's in a weird place right now. I mean, obviously there was the heyday during the 80s when it was really big and all this stuff. But what's happening in stand-up comedy right now is that Netflix is putting out so much stand-up I mean, they're putting out like a
Just
comedian
churning it.
special
Yeah.
a week. So if you're a stand-up comedy fan, you can get your fill without leaving your living room.
I like that.
True.
No, it's
not good.
I
It's
like
the
not living
same.
my living room.
It's not the same thing. And don't get me wrong, there's something great about watching a great stand-up comedy special on film. But
It's not the same as
it's
being
not
live.
the same as being in the club.
That's fair.
It is absolutely something that is amazing live, and it's amazing to see. Because this is you're talking.
Feel the energy.
Well, and when other people laugh, it just makes you laugh more. And yeah.
And think about every other art form out there. They've got something else on stage with them, whether it's a play, they've got costumes, they've got a script, whether it's a band, they've got instruments. This is people just getting up. It's just them and a microphone on stage. Go. You know what I mean?
You know what? I want to
Courage.
modify
The
something you asked me
courage.
earlier. Now that I'm thinking back, when we went on a Bahamas cruise a couple weeks ago, on the ship we saw a stand-up comedian that
Yeah?
night, and it was fun. It was fun to be out there and
Actually,
laughing
yeah.
at the jokes.
We
yeah.
did that the last cruise we went on too with my whole big family, and it was fun.
Oh, see,
And
we
it
didn't
was-
do the family show. We did the late night raunchy show, which was
just because we were with 26 family members, but it
yeah.
was funny.
But that is a legitimate route for a lot of stand-up comedians
Sure.
to make a living, is to go do these cruises
Sure.
and just go do show after show after show.
Yeah.
oh,
so-
you guys, I forgot. I don't think you mentioned in comedy. So this Friday, I'm going to go see Michael Che
Oh,
at Royal Oak Music Theater. So I'm going to some comedy.
All right, there you go.
Friday night, yeah.
Well, look, I asked Tom. I said, "What is the state of the comedy scene right now here in Detroit?" Here's what he told me.
People may not realize this, but Detroit is known for music. It's known for, going all the way back to Motown and our history of jazz musicians and Eminem and electronic music. our heritage of awesome stand-up comics isn't too far behind our musical heritage. There is a great and vibrant scene here, and it's been here for years. So you're going to see some of the best comics in Southeast Michigan. A couple of guys that we actually grabbed from the west side of the state for $15. You're going to see them doing tight 5-minute sets, the best 5 minutes they can do to showcase their talents. And you're going to see a fun show where 20 people are going to go up, and it's going to fly by quick. We're going to put up 20 people in about 2 hours. So for $15 on a Wednesday night, come on out.
That's what I'm saying to you. If you guys
That's
want to
huge.
see a great show, like if you haven't been to stand-up comedy in a while, go see this show. And this is a wide variety of performers.
You're going to have something you like.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love what he said about comparing the stand-up comedy heritage in Detroit to the music heritage in
Yeah.
Detroit, because that's a pretty strong statement. And when you put it in that kind of perspective, that really says something.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Speaking of which, I asked Bill to pick a name off the list. Pick one of the 20 and tell me about that comedian. And here's who he told me about.
Jeff Horst is the hottest comic on the Detroit comedy scene right now, I think, and he's got a half-hour Comedy Central special coming up. He was also part of Heart of the City, and he's going to be headlining here at the Castle in the next couple of weeks as well. And I think, as far as people in comedy, Jeff is one of the nicest guys you're going to meet. He's also one of the funniest comics around right now, and he's doing real well. I mean, he's climbing the ladder. I remember when he first started doing open mics, and from there to where he is today, that's hard work and just a guy going up a lot and, having the goods, and he's got them. So he's definitely one to watch.
See, don't just take my word for it, all right? This guy's going to
We were
blow up.
skeptical. No. We knew you're legit.
And look, we get Jeff a lot of love here on this podcast, but I want to mention a couple of the other names. There's 20 names in all on the list, but Zach Martina, who was our very first guest on this podcast. We had him on last October. It was right before he headlined Mark Ridley's Comedy
Nice.
Castle for the very first time. Bill described him, he's kind of like a Muppet on crack.
Whoa.
And that's a pretty good description.
Whoa.
Just so you know, when you're a stand-up comedian, the time that everybody gets all excited is usually about September, because Mark Ridley is one of the few bookers and club owners in the country who he books his entire year at
Ahead.
once.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a common practice. I think
I
he's one of the
wouldn't
few
think
guys
so,
who does
no.
that. But he's organized and he's planned. So
nice.
and he emails out. Usually, I think it is in September. So every comedian's like checking their inbox
Yes,
every 5 minutes in
am I
September to see
invited?
if, am I performing at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle? And of course, Zach got that invite last year. Melanie Hearn, another name on that list. Melanie Hearn, we talked to Heather J last week on the podcast. She talked about the jingle, the open mic that they
Yeah.
host over
Where they
at the
jingle the
Punchline.
keys if you suck.
Say
Yes.
yes.
So Melanie Hearn is the one who actually MCs that event.
Oh,
Okay,
right.
yeah.
I remember
Right.
her
And-
mentioning
and
Melanie. Yeah.
She is very funny. I've seen her a number of times. And another one, Kathy Ryan, who actually took the class with me. The
Oh,
comedy
wow.
Classmate of yours.
She's taken a
contemporary.
little farther than you.
She has. Kathy has more free time than I am because Kathy Ryan is now retired. Kathy Ryan was a crime reporter here for the newspapers in town, and
She probably needs to laugh. They're covering digital crime.
Wow.
she was going to retire. And then what was the big S&M case that happened? The guy
Oh,
who's
gosh,
divorcing
and
his
gross
wife. And then
point.
Bob Bushara?
Bob Bushara.
Yes.
Yeah.
She-
With the sex dungeon in the
she
basement.
was about to retire, and then she got called in to cover that
Oh,
case. She
goodness.
stuck around for a couple more years.
You can see why she needed to go to
and
stand-up comedy after that.
that took some time, and it was.
Does she talk about that in her
nasty.
routine? Because that could be really
No,
funny.
But I will tell you this: she is dirty in her routine,
Really?
and she's this woman who's in her late 60s, retired, and she is talking about sex, and she's talking,
Yeah.
but she kills.
Really?
That is badass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anytime I see her.
Emily, we're not. We're talking about a woman in her 60s in an amazing way. I mean, that's really great.
It's absolutely amazing, and I love Kathy. I talk to Kathy all the time. We'll chat on Facebook and stuff. We've stayed friends and taken the class.
That's cool.
together. So and then 17 others. So please go check it out. The Metro late night pilot that they're taping on Wednesday, July 18th, over at the Comedy Castle. It's hosted by WDIV's Jason Carr, and it's just, if you haven't been out to see stand-up comedy in a while, this is the perfect opportunity. Coming up, the Boblo Island Ferry.
Got to talk about that.
So sad.
It's tragedy. We'll talk about that in a minute.
The deep breathe.
Food and drink.
All right, Becky, let's talk about what's going on in the world of food and drink.
Okay, so I got a couple of festivals for you. The Greater Detroit Asia Fest at the Royal Oak Farmers Market is Thursday, July 12th. Your food and cultural festival, 8 local restaurants and caterers, going to cover Japan, China, Thailand, Korea, Vietnam, and India. Plus, of course, music and performances, but a lot about the food. And then the Pig and Whiskey Festival. This is a favorite in downtown Ferndale. That's going to be July 13th to 15th. Basically, booze, barbecue, and live music.
So I went to this last year,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a funny story that my wife Ellen and I laugh about because this was literally like 2 weeks before our wedding, and it was like, I don't know if you went last year or not, but it was like
I did.
It
One
was
of
like
the days,
100
yeah.
degrees.
It was super hot.
And
yeah.
she's like, she doesn't do whiskey, she doesn't do pork, but she knew I really wanted to go. She's like, okay, let's go. So we go.
They knew you picked the right woman.
Yes, but also like she had been
Or
so
you don't have any male friends.
Well, that's
Also true.
That's a good point.
But
Yeah.
so she's like, let's go. I said, okay. And so she'd been so careful because we're getting married into it. She's like, not to get sunburnt or have anything happen to her skin.
Oh, right.
And she's like, okay, it's 100 degrees. The sun is beating down. There is nothing here for me. Like, can we please leave? I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, let me grab like one shot of whiskey and one piece of barbecue and we're gone.
Okay, yeah.
So if I may ask her if she wants to go this year just for
Maybe
ha-has.
It shouldn't be so
Are you
hot.
guys whiskey fans?
I'm not really. I'll like a whiskey in a nice cocktail, but I'm not a sip on some whiskey
No,
kind
I'll
of girl.
I'll sip on some whiskeys for sure.
I like Scotch. I was in Scotland a couple years ago
Oh,
and
probably
just
did
sitting
tastings.
there, in Edinburgh.
Well, you know,
and
my family has a whiskey, so my maiden name's
your family has a whiskey?
Yeah, the McBrayer whiskey in Kentucky, and so they, the family down there has picked it up again and is distilling it again. So we should be getting the first batch.
Yeah,
soon.
when does the podcast get a case?
Well, it'll be soon.
Yeah,
It'll be
let's
soon.
make that happen.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, a local woman-owned food truck is going to be on TV. I love this story because here's a young woman was kind of disillusioned with the whole corporate work world.
Sure.
So she's her parents are from Mexico. She was born in Mexico and then moved to Michigan as a young girl. She's like, I'm going to just work on my Mexican cooking, get some really good stuff, and start a food truck. So she's been going, I think, a year, maybe two. Homemade, authentic Mexican food, tacos, rice and beans, homemade guac and salsas, churros.
Nice.
So she was chosen to be on a French-Canadian TV show that focuses on food trucks. It's called Salt and Diesel.
Interesting
And
name.
they decided to do an episode featuring Detroit food trucks and really highlighting women-owned ones.
Oh, nice.
So-
Are there enough to put on a show? That's
yeah,
awesome.
I know. And so I had the opportunity to go to the filming and the kind of after party was last Saturday in Ferndale. And it was just really cool to see this young woman like making this dream happen. So stay tuned. We'll tell you how to see it in the U.S. when it comes out. Couple of family favorite pizza places in town are expanding. Tomatoes a Pizza.
Love them.
It's so good.
So good.
They call it New Haven style pizza.
It's like in East Coast because it's a
yeah,
thin crust,
it's
but it's
not
like the real skinny slices.
It's not quite New York style, but similar.
Right. Love their
I love
their
it
pizza.
too. And they do a pizza buffet and it's good. But it's in Farmington Hills, but they're opening a new takeout and delivery outpost in Birmingham next to the Papa Joe's there on
Which
Woodward.
is very
That's
close
gonna
to
be
me.
dangerous
It's
for
very
you.
close to me. That's going to be like an every weekend thing.
Yeah. And then Green Lantern Pizza, which a lot of people say was actually the originator of the Detroit deep dish like Buddies. There
See,
was kind
that
of
I've
a
had.
rivalry with the two, but they're adding a carry-out delivery spot in Rochester as well as a full-service restaurant in Berkeley near 12 Mile.
Really? 'Cause that's near me?
yeah,
So
near
now
me.
I got a pizza place I can go to because, I'm in Oak Park and I haven't found good pizza in
I
Oak
know,
Park yet.
it's- yeah.
It's not... Ugh.
Yeah, so some coming closer.
Come on up
So-
Woodward to Tomatoes.
It's good.
Birmingham. Ugh.
It's just on Woodward. You don't even have to go into the downtown.
Yeah, I can do Berkeley, but
You don't
Birmingham...
have to deal with bougie Birmingham. You can just stop
You know what
on
it is?
Woodward.
Every time I go to Birmingham, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I feel like I'm underdressed.
Oh, well.
I
That's
walk down the
where-
street and a group of high schoolers will pass me, and I'm like, I'm underdressed.
That's where Queer Eye for the Straight Guy comes in. See?
No, I don't.
See,
I don't.
you're
I
not
don't think
letting
the
this go,
problem
are
is
you?
mine.
Yeah, it's somewhere in between. So those are the expansions, but unfortunately, we got some closings to talk about. Fist of Curry in Mexican Town, where you just went.
I was just at this place.
I
were
wonder
talking
if
about
it's
this
you.
last week. What
Is
did
it
you do?
I didn't do anything.
They've only been open 5 months,
Which is really short, which is really surprising.
Super short.
Let me tell you, this place, what was it? It was
It was the Huron Room, a seafood focused place.
right when you first go past the train station into Mexican Town,
Badly, yep.
basically. And I do not like Indian food necessarily. At least it's not one of my favorite cuisines. It's not something I crave or seek out.
Sure.
I was unsure. I'd read about this place in Eder, Detroit. We were looking for something new. I said, let's go try this place. And we went in, and I think it borrows from quite a few different culinary
all
traditions.
kinds of
like
curries.
It wasn't just Indian.
Yeah, that's some popular misconception.
And my girlfriend, who is,
she's picky.
She's picky, right? I was not sure. I mean, we've definitely had places where I've taken her and she's like, no, there's nothing here. And we're looking at the menu. I'm not really sure. And she loved it. I mean, she just was raving about that place. And we both just thought it was great leaving. And those guys own 2 other restaurants.
They do Johnny Noodle King and Green Dot Stables.
Which Green Dot Stables I love.
Yeah. I mean, I think their other 2 restaurants are so wildly successful and always packed that they have pretty high expectations, right? So I think Fist of Curry just wasn't quite meeting the numbers that they would like to see.
But I asked the waiter that we were talking to, I said, what's going to happen to this place when the train station moves in? Because this is going to be off the hook. Like,
we would think.
It's going to be crazy. So I was really disappointed and surprised to see this.
Yeah, so how they've kind of phrased it is that they wanted to remain more flexible, and they feel like Fist of Curry wasn't quite what the neighborhood wanted. So
I have a feeling it was a little bit ahead of its time.
Maybe so. And so instead of having the, more patience or whatever, taking time to really have it take off, they're like, you know what, let's get more nimble. So they closed down, and they're going to do like rotating pop-ups so they can just really kind of feel things out and see kind of what sticks.
Kind of hone your craft.
And make it more of a neighborhood bar type feel. Right. So, and maybe that's a way to get more people in and out too. So there's that. Another closing, Andiamo in Royal Oak. So they've got many locations, but the Royal Oak downtown location has been open 19 years, but they're closing. They served their last meal this past Friday. They really touted like the increasing competition. Ferndale, Detroit, the restaurant scene's really popping.
Clawson.
And Clawson, yeah.
No,
little bit.
Story, yeah.
Don't sleep on Clawson.
No, definitely. So, but kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was the lot behind was closed to make way for a brand new office building.
Yeah.
So there's like no parking around there.
I hate parking in
and Royal Oak there's no app like there is in Detroit or Ferndale.
No.
Like you got to dig for quarters, and they love to give you parking tickets.
Like when we used to live in Royal Oak, we complained like we need like a residence pass, and now we can walk from. We just have to cross Woodward, so we walk into Royal Oak and just don't even deal with our car anymore because it's terrible.
And it used to be like a few years ago the spot to go out.
It really did.
Really not.
It's really
anymore.
changed. Rents have gone up, and I think it's tougher for people to make it.
Blackfin was there a while. That closed.
Yeah, so I think just the local government and some local business goings on. I don't know. I'm kind of worried for the future of it.
It's funny you mentioned local government because they were saying part of the reason they're not renewing their lease is because they couldn't get a break for the parking.
Yeah, they tried to negotiate and say like, hey, is there some way around this or like a little discount?
They blame their landlord and the city, and the mayor of Royal Oak, Michael Fournier, came back and said there's over 1,000 parking spaces within a block of the restaurant. Maybe it's the food. So he fires back. And
that's not cool.
That's not cool.
No,
Plus,
it's not.
That's not really true. I mean, there are those, but there's tons of people that work there.
Do I hear echoes of Trump and Harley David?
It has a little bit of a snotty tone.
I do have to say this. Our guest next week on the show, Aaron Foley, just tweeted this a few minutes ago and said, "We as Metro Detroiters need to come together and have a serious conversation about the quality of food at any Andiamo's location."
Yeah.
That guy, it's funny because he's very mild-mannered in person, but he's pretty snarky
on the
online.
tweets.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I would not say Andiamo is like the best quality around, and I feel like the quality of dining in Royal Oak has gone down in recent years personally. So I have not been supporting those restaurants as much, but we
had a really bad experience after the wine and recline.
I remember, and that's one of the people that's getting up in arms about this parking situation is the owner of
said restaurant.
Yeah, said restaurant,
which was so bad. I mean, it was bad.
We'll see how it all shakes out, but Andiamo's other 8 locations will remain open.
But it's not just them, right? I mean, there's other restaurants that are not renewing their leases now.
Cantina Diablo there, and the Red Fox, which is on top of it, and the Dixie Moon Bar. They've sort of formed a little group to protest this lack of planning and lack of, what if you have elderly or disabled people? Like, where the heck are they going to park?
Yeah.
And this new parking deck, yes, it's going to create 750 new spots, but it's also an office building with a lot of more people there.
Right.
So
Somebody needs to
Growing
Ferndale my
pains.
Royal Oak.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, coming up in just a few, we're going to tell you how music can help you evade facial recognition software.
Keep up with us. Download our mobile app.
The deep breathe.
We got to talk about one of the big stories, one of the things that happened over the weekend, because I'm gathering that it's a huge tragedy.
yeah, I barely want to talk about it because it's just so sad.
So, not being a native Detroiter, this
You don't know.
didn't have the emotional impact for me that it did. We're talking about the Boblo Island Ferry.
Yeah, the specifically the SS St. Clair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which caught fire over the weekend.
Last Friday.
Yeah, and it had just been purchased so that they could renovate it.
Well, a few years back. But
Right.
yeah, it's been sitting there and moved around, and most recently sitting at the marina by the Rooster Tail there. And what's really, it's not only the nostalgia, but that how rare these excursion boats are. You know, this is really the last of their kind, this one. And then the twin boat has been moved to Buffalo, New York.
So did you go on this as a kid? I mean, would you take these
All
rides?
the time.
Explain the experience.
All
Explain
the
what would
time.
happen.
So just the fact that so there was a dock in Wyandotte, so we would go very close to home, get on the boat, take a 45-minute boat ride, and they're at this island that's a whole amusement park. And it was safe and fun and this great experience. It was one of the first places I was allowed to be like alone. You know, maybe I was 12 or something like that, like to be able to go with a friend. But every summer, my dad worked for BASF. He would have his company picnic there.
That's
all
cool.
the families would come, and just, you know, not every kid has that experience just like on a random weekend taking a boat ride to an amusement park on an island. You know, it was just, that was just part of our growing up. And so many fond memories. I love all the rides there, the swings, the cat and mouse roller coaster. It just, I'm sure I'm rose-colored glasses a little bit.
But the analogy that I make here is when Toys R Us closed their last store and a couple weeks ago. And,
it's like a piece of your childhood.
Yeah, it was a very emotional thing for a lot of people. And then, and even my wife, who she and I did not grow up here, but she grew up visiting family in Michigan all the time.
So she go to
said-
Boblo?
Yeah, when she was a kid, oh my God, I'd love to come visit my cousins. We'd get on the boat. There was a dance floor on the boat. We'd go out to Boblo. So
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised even it hit her emotionally.
Yeah, my girlfriend was the same way. She was looking through the photos online, and not even the photos of when it was nice, just the photos of the wreck. And she's like, oh, I remember being there. I remember dancing there. I remember doing
it was
this.
just really, really fun and almost like kind of old fashioned. And, you know, we kind of got over the pain when Boblo Island itself closed. So the boat stopped operating in 1991. So we're talking, it was a long time ago.
Right.
The last time I was, you know, at Boblo, I was in my 20s. But to know that this little piece of it was still left and that somebody was going to restore it, that's apparently how this happened. Somebody was welding.
They bought it in 2007 for $250,000.
Right. And they think that it was going to cost at least that much to restore it, even not to be an excursion boat anymore, but just a dockside attraction. You know, they were going to do some events on there. And I think they talked about like Halloween, haunted house type of
that would've
thing.
been
Or whatever.
cool.
Yeah. So just to know that somebody was going to save it. But I mean, most of the ship's made of wood. And it's,
And what we're hearing now is that it was not even fully insured.
No.
So there's already a GoFundMe campaign.
I
That's,
saw that.
online.
Yeah. To raise money to restore
$500,000.
it. Right.
But they needed what's been raised.
If
That's
it's
what
even
they're
possible.
trying
And
to
then
raise.
you have to come into question, like, what's worth saving? I mean, from what I understand, it's pretty destroyed. So
Yeah, it might be a total loss.
I don't know. So,
Aw. Well,
yep, sad days, but lots of fun memories there. And, you know, nobody can take that away.
Pour one out for the SS St. Clair.
rest in peace.
This is the deep.
Concert calendar.
Becky, I know there's a lot of big concerts going on. Let's walk through them.
So many. I'm going to run out of breath here. So Wednesday, July 11th, Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie at DTE.
How many times have those guys gone on tour together? It seems like a number of
Endless. The Sistine Chapel Choir is at the Detroit Opera Theater. So depending on your preference.
Opposite ends of the
yes.
spectrum there.
Thursday, July 12th, the Windsor Blues Fest is going on. That's July 12th through the 15th. Several stages on the waterfront across from Caesars Windsor. Bigger names include Eddie Money, Night Ranger, Johnny Lang.
Sister Christian.
Yeah. Singer-songwriter Maya Aney is at the Detroit Foundation Hotel. They've started this cool new live music series every Thursday there in the Apparatus Room Lounge. Friday, July 13th, you got Pixies and Weezer at DTE. Barry Manilow at Caesars Windsor.
Yes.
Def Leppard and Journey plus the Pretenders at Comerica Park.
That'll be a cool show.
The Pretenders seem like a weird
It's a
addition
weird
to that bill.
I agree.
Yeah, but Def Leppard and Journey, that'll be a cool show. I'm
Totally.
sorry.
So Pretenders joined on. And Vince Neil at the GM Riverfront Plaza.
I mean, that's 4 shows, huge names in one night.
There's going to be a lot of mullets downtown.
A
on
lot
Friday.
of mullets.
Business in the front, party in the back.
And it's Friday the 13th, too. So who knows what could happen. Saturday, July 14th, you got the Drifters at Meadowbrook Amphitheater, the Zach Brown Band and One Republic at Comerica Park, Bare Naked Ladies at DTE, the Temptations, Four Tops, and the Stylistics at Freedom Hill, Patti LaBelle at Shane Park, and Panic at the Disco at LCA. Wow. So even a bigger night.
Pies for everybody at Shane Park.
I don't know where I'm going to spend my allowance.
Whew. And Sunday, July 15th, Foreigner and Whitesnake at DTE.
More mullets.
My, oh my. So, I don't know how I feel about this, but the whole Juggalos phenomenon.
ICP, the Insane Clown Posse, Detroit's own.
So I get it, the fans. Something came up on Twitter, like, hey, you know what? Juggalos, you've had to defend yourselves against, being mistaken for a criminal gang, all these things. But here's a benefit. You can evade facial recognition software. With the makeup.
The black and white makeup.
And it even went on to say there's certain techniques you can use. Like, you don't want to highlight your natural jawline. So you want to color outside the lines, if you will. And they kind of put it to the test, like if you would be recognized by the software or not.
This goes against everything they taught me on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Exactly.
You know that.
Emphasize the jawline.
I've mentioned this before, so I'll mention it very quickly. My brother was a juggalo when he was in high school, and I never got him. Like, why do you like these guys that dress up as clowns and spray the crowd with $3? Yeah, but my brother got picked on a lot when he was younger, and so did I. And he said listening to the music of the Insane Clown Posse taught him to just not care what anybody thought and just do you. So he actually has the Hatchet Man tattooed on his calf.
And that really means something to him.
It means something to him of, just do you and don't worry about what anybody else thinks. And he's turned into a very successful businessman, and it was kind of started there. So to each his own.
This is the D.
Detroit.
This is the D. Brief.
All right, there it is. Another show in the bag.
All wrapped up.
In the can.
What other cliches do we have?
What other receptacle we can put it into? Hopefully not the garbage.
No.
Thank you to our guest, Ismael Ahmed, the director and curator of the Concert of Colors. Huge free concert. Go
Get
check it
yourself
out.
out there.
If you have never been exposed to world music, there's going to be all different styles of music. Go take in a performance or two.
Yeah, if you don't want to spend money on, Journey and Def Leppard,
Right.
go for free.
You can get some voodoo on.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget the Metro Late Night pilot taping. That is happening July 18th. Thank you to Tom McCarthy and Bill Bushart for taking us about this. Seriously, if you have not seen stand-up comedy in a while and you want to see what's going on in this stand-up comedy scene, we have a thriving stand-up comedy scene here in the Metro Detroit area. Go check it out. It's happening at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. All the details are at comedycastle.com. And of course, on Thursday, we have our interview with Amani Olu, the founding director of Detroit Art Week, which kicks off July 20th. You can subscribe to this show wherever you find podcasts. Google has a brand new podcast app. You can find
That's
it there.
exciting.
Yeah. If you
can find us on the Google machine now.
If you're an Android phone user, it was very hard to listen to podcasts before, and Google is now making it easier.
Better.
Of course, we're in Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and Spotify. Wherever you find us, please leave a review. That helps other people.
Yes,
Seriously,
please.
It helps other people find the show. Other people read those things. That is the biggest compliment you could pay us, is to leave us a review there.
A good review.
Right.
It's not a compliment otherwise.
Right.
We also have a mobile app which you can download, and if you want a list of all the things that we talk about in the show with links, we'll send it to you every single week. All you got to do is go to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com, and sign up for our email list. Before we get out of here, Becky, anything you want to plug?
Just keep looking on enjoythed.com. Our summer tours are selling like hotcakes, so you just have a few more that you can plug into to check out Eastern Market and eat your way around there.
Well, what about you, Jag?
If you ever want to get into podcasting, I can make it happen for you. Anything you want to know, find it on my website, jagindetroit.com, or on social at jagindetroit.
All right, that's it for us. We will talk to you on Thursday.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.